This is Let's Talk Big, the big read with Jane Berger and Jen Hazel. The Owens Community College Campus Big Read is taking place now and throughout the semester, with the goal of bringing awareness of different perspectives through books. The Campus Read book is A Little Less Broken, How an Autism Diagnosis Finally Made Me Whole by Marian Schembari. It's the story of one woman's decades-long journey to a diagnosis of autism and the barriers that keep too many neurodivergent people from knowing their true selves. Now, sharing passages, topics, and events related to the book are Director of Library Services, Jane Berger, and Professor of English, Jen Hazel.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Big. I'm Jen Hazel, and I have with me today Jane Berger and Wes Nelson, who is a business management and honors program student. Welcome, Jane. Welcome, Wes.
Hey, Jen. Hey, Wes.
Hello.
Jane, do you have a passage?
Let me see. Yes, of course. Always. One of my favorite things that anybody who listens and... All right, we'll just get right to it. Page 77 today. Another day she wrote, Marian is so fake. At the time, I didn't understand what she meant, and I kind of skipped over this feedback, but clearly, some part of my brain filed this away because the word still haunts me. Fake. Of course I was fake. My friendships only worked because I reflected people back to themselves. I mirrored mannerisms and outfits. By the time I was 19, I had been called lazy, moody, sensitive, harsh, weird, annoying, mean, and buzzkill by everyone, from my parents to my teachers to my most beloved friends. Of course, I flattened myself into the purest, shiniest mirror I could, focusing all my energy into matching their every movement like those icebreaker games that we played in school. There's a lot packed right in there. Fake. What do you think have you ever been called fake, Wes?
Yeah, I think for me, that's a particularly touching passage because fake, and the exact way that she describes it, she didn't realize what it meant, but she took notice of it. Because when you're trying to fit in, you know, everything you're doing is obviously fake, so in the moment, that's not helpful feedback, because I'm trying to be like you. And she says that she became a shiny form, and that's...
what we do. Right, yeah, I would agree with you. And the fact, I guess, acquaintances, teenage kids can be mean just by nature, as they're all kind of trying to figure out who they are. But to hear that she had been called some of these terms by her most beloved friends, parents, and teachers. Parents and teachers really surprised me, because you think your parents would know or be more sensitive. Even if that's what you think, you know, as a parent now, I may think that, you know, my kid's lazy, and unless I get really fired up, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to think of another way to say, hey, you know, maybe you just repackage it. But I can't imagine, by the people that you trust the most, you're being ripped apart, ripped down, you know, smacked down.
Well, one of the things that's interesting, and I want to go back to what Wes said, how he said, like, that's not helpful. So if someone is coming off fake, what actually would be the feedback?
Right.
Right.
Right?
And I think that is something at the core as we continue on through the book, and we're still early-ish on, as we continue through the book to actually think about is what is the feedback that is helpful? Because if someone gives you that feedback, clearly, and we know going into it from the very first sentence that she has an autism diagnosis. Well, you know when you pick up the book,
right,
with the title. So,
right.
But what would be the feedback? And then once you read it, you have an understanding of it's that mimicking, and she even says it, I'm reflecting them back. Yep. So really, what's happening is if they're coming off fake, that is how that person who gave her that must appear.
Yeah.
Or, example, Marian isn't doing a good job of reflecting them back, but what would be the feedback? When someone you're coming off fake, what is the feedback?
Okay, so if I say, oh, Jen, you're so fake.
I think, I'm thinking.
mean that.
No, it's okay. I know, honey. I'm thinking on the fly. I wonder if something is like, I'm not sure that I'm getting the genuine you.
Yeah,
And I want to hear more about what you think and feel.
I like that.
I think that's a good point. I think another way to kind of look at it, though, in terms of fakeness or genuineness. So they tell you, that you can be whatever you want to be. The possibilities are endless. And then they said there's a box of things to choose from.
Yep, as long as you fit within.
You can
Yes.
be any
Right.
one of these 10 things.
Yep.
Right.
And so, by its nature, that means that everybody is being fake to fit themselves into a
Right.
box.
Sure.
So, the problem that she's having, that I had, is, what she wasn't able to assume is that one of these identities was hers. So she reflects all of them. And so because people misunderstand that, because everybody does the same thing, but they just a lot of times choose one.
Yes.
Right? This is my
Right.
reflection.
Yeah.
I'm this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you don't see the world that way, it's like you're like, I like this, I like that, I like this.
So
my
you're
friend.
taking all those pieces.
Yeah, or I'm with this person now, so I better be like
Right.
this, and I'm with you now, so I'm going to be like this because I think this is what you want me to be like. So, yeah, she blended.
And maybe there's confusion too if it's in a group and there's this person and this
Oh,
person
yeah.
and this person and this person, and then that
Yeah.
could be confusing on how to look. So Wes, how did you feel from such a comment, and what did you
Yeah.
do with said comment?
Well, much like her, that comment, fake, wasn't. I couldn't do anything with that because, in a way, it felt like I was doing something wrong.
Right.
Because I did know that I was imitating these people.
Sure.
So what I took with that comment was kind of like someone calling me out, and I don't want to own up to that. So, I just keep on doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then, later on, I'm like, oh, they think me fake.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what hits me really hard in this passage is it still haunts me today. This word still haunts me today. And look how far she's come, and it's still there. So for you, do you think about it? Does it have any kind of long-lasting repercussions? Has it altered at all? As we grow into ourselves and we get more confident with who we are, and there's not the pressure of, the teenage years, and by the time you certainly get to my age and your filter's pretty much worn out, you're like, I don't really care. Take it or leave it. That's who I am. Have you reached a point where you are comfortable in your own skin? And if somebody would say, hey, you're fake, too bad.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. In many ways, I think the best way to do is because what everybody actually does, and what I've done out loud of myself, is I just apply the fakeness, right? So I'm not being fake. This is a curated exterior response that I give to people. So it's fake in that it's not who I am
Right.
That's
internally.
right.
But
It's kind of like you're acting. You're
Yeah.
a part. It's a part that you're playing.
Right.
And we'll see later on. Hopefully it's not going to be a spoiler because hopefully everybody will be reading along with us. But this is kind of the prep for when we get a little bit further into it and they talk about masking. And I think we all do that. But for someone who has a diagnosis of autism, it takes on a greater weight.
Well, and I think there's another word that I want to point out that she does talk about later that'll come back up is sensitive. So that's another one that I would say we should probably highlight because she brings it back up, the sensitiveness. So I think that's something important also to highlight.
And I can talk about this because this kind of brings up the number one place you're going to hear the word sensitive from is from your parents. Your parents are going to be the ones they think, not that they're necessarily wrong, but when they don't understand, they're going to say that you're being sensitive. And it also brought up another point about your parents. Your parents are also trying to play the roles that they believe are themselves.
Right.
And having gone through their whole lives, not always sure of themselves, they're going to be quick to call out something fake too. Because my mom used to tell me I was fake all the time. My mom used to tell me I wasn't being cool or anything, and I was just like, all right, Mom.
What do you know about being cool?
Apparently,
Yeah, right. Well, and I know that, and Jen, you may too, as your kids get older, my kids are grown. But I had two kids who, were just, your average, ordinary, they, whatever.
Normal, whatever that is,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, exactly. And then I had a third one who rocked our world with her personality and her spirit and all of that. And it boggled my mind for a very long time that how could two people produce this third child that is so different from the others. And it took me a long time to appreciate her differences. I think I appreciated all of them, but when she got into school, it was a little harder to kind of push them off as just, it's just who she is, whatever. It's very interesting to me because as parents, you kind of, think you have the manual, you raise them in a similar way, and then you get one that doesn't work, and it takes you off balance. And maybe that's how her parents, felt, that, wow, this one's different.
I can't remember now. Was she youngest?
I think she's younger.
Wes, do you remember?
Either.
I do not.
I feel like she was
I think she was
younger, so
younger.
it might have been like, because the way you describe when you talk about your daughters, Jane, is you describe like it was not quite smooth sailing, but it was almost
yeah.
like smooth sailing, and then it was like this
Right,
rough
right.
seas,
It-
and you
yeah.
were like,
Yeah.
why is something
There was just one who, the things that worked to motivate or to encourage did not work for one of them. And, I'm like, snap, now I have to rewrite the manual. But it took a long time, and it took someone recommending a book, for me to read to help understand. And I think it's so important for parents to take that time to get to know the differences, in your children. And yes, we can all say, oh, they're all different. But until you have one that's a little bit, off the grid more so than the other.
Different.
Yeah, she is. I mean, she brings so much life to our family. I can't even imagine, life without her.
You bring up a good point, though, because that's another point, because your experience, I think, is probably very common, because you learn to exist and cooperate with your child, and to bloom and everything, but when they got into school, you suddenly have to be your kid's own biggest advocate,
Yes.
because
Right.
despite being an accepting place, it's a place of society and order.
Yes.
And now the teachers are like, oh, what's wrong with your kid? Or
Right.
Yes, like
Yep.
why do they not fit the mold?
Yep.
So I'm one of four, and it was my brother, my older brother, then there's me, then my sister, and then my younger brother, and it would be we all went to the same school, and it would often be my brother, and then I would be this drastic change, and then my sister was my older brother, and then it was my younger brother, and it was every time that why are you not whatever it is?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I have a funny story. So again, just like you, my kids all went to the same school, and very often had some of the same teachers. And this is one of my favorite stories. I went to the meet the teacher night or whatever, and the teacher said, "Oh, I was so excited to see that I had another Berger girl in my class." And then she leaned into me and she said, "And within 5 minutes, I knew she was nothing like her sister." I mean, in that tone. And I looked at her and I said, "And we embrace those differences, because I don't want you to think that she's just like her sister. She absolutely is not. We know that. So you need to look at her as you would any other student that you had no information about."
Well, and I want to make an observation. What did we just do? We talked about how similar some of these statements, you are whatever, and how that was done to us,
Yep,
or our
yep.
siblings, or your kids.
Yep.
That's super, super interesting. I want to make one more point, and then I think
I know we gotta go.
we're going to have to wrap it up. I know, but I totally think we're having Wes back.
Oh, I know.
He was phenomenal. Not that all of our guests aren't, but we love having students.
I know.
I know. Take it in for a minute, Wes. We love having students come, because the shift is
It's a great perspective.
it's different.
Yep.
It's a different perspective,
Yep.
and it's very fun. So, Wes, one of the things you were talking about was how your parents are the ones who are going to call you out on that kind of stuff, and your parents are the ones who, in some ways too, if you think about it, a lot of kids, not all are this lucky, but their parent is or their parents are their safe place. In the same way, how, thinking about it, the kids are probably the parents' safe place too, and not, even though they're the ones who are guiding. And so them being okay to say things that some other people may or may not, but
Right.
say, is super interesting, I think.
I agree. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
that's amazing, because how many times have you sung to your kid? It's just you and them in the car, and you just belt it out for them.
Yeah. Right.
And the kid loves it.
Yes, the things you do, and I was just telling someone the other day, or like a month ago this, so I was dropping my daughter off at camp, and literally we were like, now she is 6, but we were holding hands, walking down this hallway to drop off her stuff, and she tells me this, she goes, Mom, I love you so much. I think about you all the time, all day long, and I just can't wait to see you. Yeah, and like thinking about that, like, that's like her whole world.
Yes.
Her whole world.
Yep.
Yes.
And safe.
Yes.
And fun.
Yes.
But if you called her weird, ugh, you're annoying. I mean, would you still be that all and everything for her, or will there be like little fractures?
Right. Well, I'm very cautious of these names because I was also called some as a child.
Oh, yeah,
but,
we all
like,
not.
But absolutely, like, but I mean, it's not like I'm a parent. We make mistakes. It is not like I haven't like yelled because you know what I mean of stuff. So, but like she understands that level of like sometimes people do things we don't want to do, and she has, and then we talk about that. So I just think it's
communication
exactly.
key.
And absolutely. But anyway, we are way
I'm
over
sorry.
time, I'm sure. Well, I don't even know because
Sorry.
I wasn't looking at the time, but I'm sure we are way over time because the conversation was so engrossing. But on behalf of myself, Jane, and Wes, keep talking big.
This has been Let's Talk Big. Catch Let's Talk Big anytime on the RSS feed or the Owens Outcome Plus YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. Join us again for Let's Talk Big, the big read with Jane Berger and Jen Hazel.